This audiobook reveals the divine key not to something outside you, but to the infinite power within. You are the key, and the time has come to remember what you seek has always been yours. The Divine Key. Introduction. Deep within your being lies a sacred echo, an ancient pulse that predates language, scripture, or stone. It is not a whisper from beyond, but a memory from within. You are not a seeker of the divine. You are divinity itself, cloaked in form, dreaming of limitation. Through eons, this truth has been guarded by mystics and sages, veiled not to hide it, but to protect its sanctity until the soul was ripe to receive it. And now, as the veil thins and humanity begins to stir from its long forgetting, the divine key calls to you, not to teach, but to help you remember. You are not apart from the infinite force that birthed galaxies and breathed stars into being. You are a unique expression of it, entrusted with the power to create worlds through thought, word, and belief. When you return to this remembrance, the fulfillment of your desires flows with the ease of breath, the rhythm of dawn. The illusions of lack, effort, and separation are but temporary shadows cast by the light of your unclaimed divinity. And now, that light grows stronger. The same intelligence that blooms the rose and steadies the sun now waits in stillness within you, ready to move at the command of your awakened awareness. You stand not on the edge of change, but at the gates of your own rebirth. The key has never been hidden. It has always been in your hand. As you turn it, you will not become something new. You will remember what you have always been. The chrysalis has cracked. The wings of your infinite self are ready to unfold. Part 1. The Awakening of the Divine Spark. Chapter 1. The Forgotten Temple of Infinite Riches. In a village among ancient hills lived Eleanor, a seamstress whose skilled hands crafted garments for the townsfolk. One autumn morning, while retrieving a fallen needle, she noticed peculiar markings beneath a loose floorboard. As she lifted more boards, intricate symbols emerged, spirals of prosperity, circles of abundance, and sacred geometries that seemed to pulse with hidden meaning. Following the patterns deeper, Eleanor discovered her modest cottage had been built upon the foundation of a forgotten temple. The symbols spoke of infinite wealth flowing through sacred vessels, of divine consciousness manifesting as material abundance. What appeared to be a simple dwelling was, in truth, a gateway to universal prosperity. Your physical form and consciousness are much like Eleanor's cottage, a sacred temple built upon foundations of infinite potential. Within this living sanctuary exist chambers of divine creative power. Your thoughts form the altar where intentions become reality. Your emotions create the sacred oils that anoint manifestation, and your beliefs shape the very walls through which abundance flows. Each chamber of your consciousness must be consecrated, cleansed of doubts that dim its radiance. When you recognize your body as a holy vessel of creation, every breath becomes a prayer of gratitude, every heartbeat a pulse of divine abundance. This truth was exemplified by Nathaniel, a merchant who inherited his grandfather's modest shop. For years he searched every corner of the store for rumored hidden treasure, checking behind loose bricks and beneath weathered floorboards. His obsession with finding external wealth nearly drove the business to ruin. One night, exhausted from another fruitless search, Nathaniel sat in quiet desperation. In that moment of stillness, wisdom dawned. His grandfather's true legacy wasn't buried gold, but the understanding that the shop itself was a vessel for divine abundance. When Nathaniel began treating his business as a sacred space where prosperity could flow freely, wealth naturally followed. Like Nathaniel, you need not search outside yourself for the source of abundance. The infinite riches of the universe already flow through your divine consciousness, waiting only for recognition. Ancient practice, the temple of consciousness. Create a dedicated space in your home, a corner, a small table, or an entire room. This becomes your physical reminder of the temple within. Each morning, sit in this sacred space and speak these words. I am a living temple of divine abundance. Through my consciousness flows the infinite wealth of the universe. In gratitude, I open every chamber of my being to receive the blessings that are my birthright. Let your body become still as you feel the truth of these words resonating through every cell. Maintain this practice for at least 5 minutes daily, allowing the recognition of your divine nature to deepen with each session. Chapter 2. The Voice of Divine Guidance. For countless seasons, Samuel tended the lighthouse on Storm's End Point, his steady hand guiding ships through treacherous waters. Through howling gales and blinding fog, a mysterious voice would whisper in his ear, directing him to adjust the great beam at precisely the right moment. 3 degrees westward, it would murmur, or now is the time to sound the horn. Without fail, these whispered commands saved vessels from disaster. Sailors spoke of Samuel's uncanny ability to know exactly where each ship struggled, even in the darkest night. They called him the Oracle of the Point, believing he possessed supernatural sight. Yet Samuel himself remained humble, attributing his success to the guiding voice he assumed came from some higher power. Only in his final year of service did Samuel discover the truth. The voice had always been his own. The wisdom that saved countless lives emerged from the depths of his own illuminated heart, his divine consciousness speaking through what he'd mistaken for external guidance. Like Samuel, you have been seeking direction from outside yourself, straining to hear messages from beyond. Yet the universe speaks through you, not to you. That still, small voice of intuition, the knowing that precedes thought, is your own God consciousness illuminating the path ahead. This truth was beautifully demonstrated by Margaret, a traveler who lost her way in the ancient wood. For 3 days she struggled with maps and markers, second-guessing each turn, growing more lost with every calculated decision. Exhausted and afraid, she finally surrendered her need to figure it out. In that moment of letting go, she felt a gentle pull in her heart, like a golden thread drawing her forward. Following this subtle guidance, Margaret found herself moving with newfound grace through the forest. Without consulting her maps, she was led to hidden paths and secret clearings that brought her exactly where she needed to be. What seemed like surrender became her salvation. Your journey mirrors Margaret's wanderings. When you cease struggling to find your way through external signs and instead attune to the wisdom flowing from your heart center, the path reveals itself naturally. Your divine self knows the way it has always known. Sacred practice, the awakening of inner guidance. Each morning before the world stirs to wakefulness, sit in sacred silence for 10 minutes. Place your hand upon your heart center and ask your divine self for guidance. Let your breath become soft and rhythmic. As thoughts arise, let them pass like clouds, neither grasping nor resisting. Listen deeply to the whispered wisdom that emerges from your heart, not as words but as knowing. This is your own God consciousness speaking, showing you the way forward with perfect clarity. Chapter 3: The Mirror of Infinite Wealth. In the heart of an ancient marketplace stood Theodore's humble cobbler shop, where he spent his days mending the worn soles of travelers' shoes. Each morning he watched Silk Road merchants stride past his door, their coin purses heavy with gold, their faces bright with prosperity. With each passing figure, Theodore's heart grew heavier with longing and envy. One day, as he sat brooding in his doorway, an elderly woman wrapped in simple cloth approached. She watched him watching the merchants, her eyes twinkling with ancient wisdom. "You see them as separate from yourself," she said. "But what draws your eye is your own divine nature recognizing itself." Theodore scoffed, gesturing at his weathered hands and modest surroundings. But the wise woman continued, "The abundance you admire flows from the same divine source that dwells within you. Your attraction to their prosperity is your soul's recognition of its own potential." Through her teachings, Theodore began to understand that each wealthy merchant was a mirror, reflecting back the infinite abundance that lay dormant in his own divine consciousness. His envy transformed into gratitude as he realized these successful individuals were not his oppressors, but his teachers, living demonstrations of the prosperity that was his natural birthright. This truth finds echo in the tale of Vivian, a young servant who worked in a grand mansion. Each day, as she polished silver and dusted crystal chandeliers, bitterness would rise in her heart at the stark contrast between her employer's luxury and her own simple means. Yet one morning, as sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, casting rainbow patterns across marble floors, Vivian experienced a profound shift in perception. The beauty that had tormented her suddenly felt familiar, as if her soul had known it all along. She realized her ability to appreciate such splendor was not a curse of her station, but her divine self preparing her consciousness to receive similar blessings. The mansion's opulence was not mocking her lack, it was awakening her awareness of abundance as her natural state. Every crystal goblet she polished, every silk tapestry she tended, became not a reminder of what she didn't have, but a reflection of the prosperity that already existed within her divine nature, waiting to be expressed. Sacred practice, mirror of divine abundance. Find a quiet moment each day to gather images that represent the wealth and success you desire. As you gaze upon each one, place your hand over your heart and speak these words with conviction. This reflects the divine abundance that flows through me. Let each image serve not as a reminder of what you lack, but as a mirror showing you what already exists within your divine nature, waiting to be expressed in your physical reality. Chapter 4: The Seed of Unlimited Creation. In a valley where drought had turned fertile land to dust, Franklin stood among his withered crops, his calloused hands trembling as he held a single mysterious seed. Unlike any he had ever seen, it gleamed with an inner light that seemed to pulse with life. As he studied its intricate patterns, wisdom stirred in his heart. This tiny vessel contained within it the complete design for an entire forest, waiting only for soil and faith to unleash its infinite potential. Through nights of doubt and days of labor, Franklin tended this seed with reverence, understanding that its power lay not in its size, but in its divine connection to the creative force that birthed all life. As the first shoots emerged, they carried an otherworldly vitality that spread to the surrounding soil. Soon, where barren earth had stretched to the horizon, abundance burst forth in waves of green life. Just as this seed held the pattern for endless forests, Your consciousness carries the divine blueprint for unlimited creation. The same force that orchestrates the dance of planets and paints the northern lights flows through your thoughts and intentions. Every desire you hold is a seed of divine potential, waiting only for the fertile soil of faith and the water of unwavering belief to manifest in physical form. This truth echoes in the tale of Charlotte, who spent years doubting the worth of her art. Each time she approached her canvas, inner critics whispered of inadequacy. Yet one evening, as golden light filtered through her studio windows, she experienced a moment of crystal clarity. The creative impulses flowing through her were not her own limited abilities, but the infinite creative force of the universe seeking expression through her unique vessel. In that moment of surrender, her brush moved with divine authority, channeling visions that transcended her human doubts. She realized she had never been the source of her creativity, but rather a sacred channel through which universal creativity flowed freely when she stepped aside and allowed it. Your desires are not random wishes born of human wanting. They are divine impulses seeking physical expression through your consciousness. When you align with this truth, manifestation becomes as natural as a flower turning toward sunlight. Sacred seed practice is: select a seed that calls to your spirit, hold it gently in your palm and close your eyes. Feel its connection to the infinite creative force of the universe. Visualize your greatest desire taking root and growing with the same divine certainty that transforms a seed into a flower. Speak your intention aloud as you plant the seed in fertile soil. As this seed contains a forest, my consciousness contains infinite creative power. Through divine law, my intention now takes root in the fertile soil of universal abundance. Water your seed daily, knowing that as it grows, so too does your manifestation in the physical world. Chapter 5: The Sacred Discontent That Calls You Higher. In the marble halls of a prestigious bank, Harold moved through his days surrounded by wealth, yet haunted by an inexplicable emptiness. His vault held fortunes, his title commanded respect, yet a persistent whisper in his soul spoke of greater possibilities. One night, in the depths of sleep, he found himself standing before a magnificent door adorned with ancient symbols. As it opened, light poured forth, revealing not more gold or precious gems, but a vision of himself radiating healing energy that transformed everything he touched. Upon waking, Harold understood. His restlessness was not a flaw to be corrected, but a divine signal calling him toward his true destiny. Like a butterfly, feeling the first stirrings of wings within its chrysalis, his soul was outgrowing the comfortable confines he had accepted as his life. This sacred discontent you feel, the quiet, knowing that you are meant for more, flows from the same divine source that stirs the seasons to change and prompts seeds to push through soil toward sunlight. Your unwillingness to settle for mediocrity is the voice of your God consciousness awakening you to your true nature and infinite potential. Consider Rosalind, whose mansion overlooked the sea and whose coffers overflowed with inherited wealth. Yet each morning she woke feeling hollow, until divine guidance led her to distribute her fortune and embrace a simple life in a mountain village. There, her true gifts emerged: hands that could ease pain, words that could mend broken spirits. As she followed this calling, abundance flowed to her in ways money never could. Her home became a sanctuary of healing, filled with the treasures of transformed lives and grateful hearts. Your divine nature cannot be satisfied with mere material comfort, because it knows the truth of who you are, a being of unlimited creative power, meant to express gifts that will transform the world. The restlessness you feel is not punishment, but promotion, calling you to rise from the slumber of limitation into the full expression of your divine potential. Sacred fire practice. Take a piece of paper and write a letter addressing your divine self. Express gratitude for the sacred discontent that has awakened you from the dream of limitation. Thank this divine restlessness for refusing to let you settle for less than the magnificent life that matches your true nature. When your heart has spoken its full truth on paper, find a safe place outdoors, under the open sky. Light the letter with a flame, and as it burns, declare aloud, "I release all resistance to my highest calling." As these words transform to ash and smoke, I embrace the divine destiny that calls to my soul. Chapter 6. The Veil of Unworthiness. In a small village among healing springs, Agnes tended to the sick with hands that seemed to channel divine light. Her touch eased pain, her presence brought peace, yet she lived in poverty, refusing all offerings of gratitude. "The gift flows through me freely," she would say, "so I must give it freely." Yet as her own health declined and her cottage fell into disrepair, the divine wisdom spoke through an unexpected source. A blind elder she had healed returned, not with payment, but with truth. "Your refusal of abundance does not make you holy," he said. "When you reject the prosperity that flows naturally from your gifts, you dam the river of divine energy that seeks to bless both giver and receiver." These words pierced the veil of Agnes's false humility. She saw how her sense of unworthiness had become a barrier, not just to her own prosperity, but to the full expression of divine healing through her. As she began accepting the abundant flow that naturally followed her work, her gifts expanded. Her cottage transformed into a sanctuary where healing and prosperity flowed as one divine stream. This illusion of unworthiness that Agnes faced dwells not just in her story, but in your consciousness. It was planted there by those who mistook spiritual wealth for material greed, who taught you that accepting abundance somehow diminished your divine connection. Yet the universe knows no such limitation. Its nature is infinite expansion, endless giving and receiving in perfect balance. Edmund's tale mirrors this truth from another angle. His music carried the power to stir souls, yet he performed only in empty halls, believing himself unworthy of appreciation. One day, a young girl wandered into his solitary concert. Tears streamed down her face as the music touched something deep within her. "Your music helped me feel God's love," she said simply. "How can you keep such a gift hidden?" Her innocent wisdom shattered Edmund's self-imposed prison of unworthiness. He realized that his divine gift was never meant for empty rooms. It was a channel for sacred energy, meant to touch hearts and transform lives. As he began sharing his music openly, abundance naturally followed, not because he sought it, but because he finally allowed the divine flow to move through him unobstructed. Stand before your mirror each morning. Look deeply into your own eyes, the windows of your divine soul. Speak these words with growing conviction. I am worthy of infinite abundance because I am a divine being created in the image of perfect love. Let this truth penetrate every cell until you feel the barriers of unworthiness dissolving in the light of your own divine recognition. Chapter 7. The Sacred Breath of Manifestation. In the silence of a mountain monastery, Walter discovered a truth that would transform the ancient art of manifestation. Each morning, As dawn painted the stone walls with golden light, he noticed a peculiar pattern. His prayers manifested with startling precision when his breath found a certain sacred rhythm. This wasn't mere coincidence, but a gateway to divine creation itself. Your breath carries more power than you have imagined. It is not simply air flowing in and out of your lungs, but the very force of creation moving through your being. When you breathe consciously, you tap into the same divine current that sustains galaxies and nurtures seeds into mighty trees. Each breath becomes a bridge between your earthly experience and your divine nature. The universe speaks in the language of rhythm, the tide's eternal dance, the phases of the moon, the season's graceful turn. Your breath, when aligned with this cosmic tempo, transforms into a powerful tool of manifestation. As you inhale, you draw in not just air, but the infinite potential of the universe. As you exhale, you release not just breath, but all barriers to your highest good. In a distant valley, Millicent learned this same truth through her work with expectant mothers. She observed how women who breathed in harmony with life's creative force experienced births filled with grace and ease. The breath that brings forth new life, she would say, carries the same power that manifests all dreams into being. Through years of attending births, Millicent recognized that every manifestation follows the same pattern as birth, a rhythm of receiving and releasing, of drawing in divine power and letting go of resistance. The mothers who surrendered to this sacred rhythm found themselves carried by a force greater than their own strength. Your desires await birth through this same divine breath. Like Millicent's mothers, you can learn to breathe in sync with the universe's creative pulse. Each conscious breath aligns you more perfectly with the flow of infinite abundance. The ancient ones preserved this sacred breathing practice. Inhale for 7 counts, drawing in golden light that fills every cell of your being. Hold this divine breath for 7 counts, feeling deep gratitude for your desires already fulfilled in the eternal now. Then exhale for 7 counts, releasing all doubt and limitation into the infinite light. This rhythm aligns you with the cosmic heartbeat, transforming you into a conscious channel for manifestation. Chapter 8, The Flame That Attracts All Good. In a small village among ancient hills, Clarence the blacksmith made an extraordinary discovery. His forge, unlike others in the region, never required new fuel. While fellow craftsmen constantly fed their fires with wood and coal, Clarence's flame burned steadily, powered by something far more potent than earthly materials. One dawn, as he watched the flames dance, understanding illuminated his mind. This sacred fire drew its strength from the love he poured into each piece he crafted. With this realization, his humble forge transformed. Merchants began traveling great distances, drawn by an inexplicable force they couldn't name. His creations, though simple, carried a quality that transcended mere craftsmanship. Abundance flowed effortlessly, and miracles became commonplace in his workshop. Within your heart burns this same eternal flame, a divine magnetism that naturally attracts all that aligns with your highest purpose. This sacred fire requires no external sustenance, for it is fueled by the infinite love of the universe itself. As you recognize and nurture this flame through gratitude and conscious awareness of your divine nature, its magnetic power intensifies, drawing to you experiences, opportunities, and blessings that perfectly match your soul's highest expression. In another time, Beatrice, whose gentle hands crafted candles for the village temple, noticed something remarkable. Certain candles she created while in deep prayer seemed to defy natural law. Their flames burned bright and steady, never diminishing, Those who received these special candles reported mysterious blessings, their homes filled with unexpected abundance, their hearts lighter with joy. Through patient observation, Beatrice understood that objects created with divine intention become vessels of permanent blessing. Her candles carried not just light, but the very essence of divine abundance, multiplying prosperity wherever they burned. When you awaken to the eternal flame within your heart, allowing it to infuse your thoughts and actions with divine light, you become like Beatrice's blessed candles, a permanent source of abundance that enriches all who cross your path. This sacred fire transforms not just your own experience, but radiates divine magnetism that elevates everyone in your presence. To kindle this flame, find a quiet moment each evening. Place your hand upon your heart center, and with each breath, visualize a golden flame growing brighter within. Speak words of love and gratitude, feeling the warmth of divine magnetism spreading through your being. I am one with the eternal flame of divine love. Through me flows infinite abundance, blessing all of life. Chapter 9, The Language of Divine Signs. Throughout the ages, signs and symbols have whispered divine wisdom to those with eyes to see and hearts to understand. Florence, a merchant who traversed distant lands, discovered this sacred truth through her journeys. While others relied on maps and markers, she learned to read the language of the universe itself, watching how clouds gathered before dawn, observing the patterns of migrating birds, and studying the ancient dance of stars across the night sky. At first, she thought these natural signs merely guided her physical path. Yet as her awareness deepened, she realized the universe was leading her toward something far greater. The same wind that shaped the clouds guided her to marketplaces at precisely the right moment. The birds she followed led her to unexpected opportunities. The stars she trusted revealed timing so perfect it could only be divine orchestration. The universe speaks the same sacred language to you at every moment. Those recurring numbers that catch your eye, the chance meetings that shift your path, the inner knowing that pulls you in a certain direction, these are not mere coincidences, but divine communications guiding you toward your highest good. When you attune yourself to this celestial conversation, you begin to see that every experience carries a message, every encounter holds meaning, and every moment offers guidance. Percival, a dedicated scholar, spent countless hours poring over ancient manuscripts in search of universal truths. His breakthrough came not in dusty tomes, but in the living library of daily experience. The wisdom he sought began appearing everywhere, in casual conversations with strangers, in lyrics floating from passing windows, in random passages his eyes fell upon. What seemed like ordinary moments revealed themselves as vessels of divine guidance. Like Percival, you may have been seeking answers in expected places while the universe has been speaking to you through every facet of your experience. The person who mentions exactly what you've been thinking about, the book that falls open to the perfect page, the sudden inspiration that arrives in dreams, these are all languages of divine communication. To deepen your connection with this sacred guidance, begin a Divine Signs journal. For 7 days, record every synchronicity, meaningful coincidence, and intuitive prompting you experience. Note the numbers that repeatedly appear, and the themes that emerge in conversations, and the subtle ways your inner wisdom speaks to you. After 7 days, review your entries, looking for patterns in how the universe has been illuminating your path. This practice will attune your consciousness to the constant stream of divine guidance that surrounds you. Chapter 10, The Crown of Divine Authority over Reality. In the ancient hills where countless shepherds had grazed their flocks through generations, Augustus tended his sheep with the same quiet resignation that marked his father's face and his grandfather's before him. Each day blended into the next until that fateful morning when his staff struck something metallic beneath the soil. As he brushed away centuries of earth, a golden crown emerged, its jewels still brilliant despite ages of darkness. With trembling hands, Augustus lifted the crown. Something stirred in his soul, a remembrance of forgotten majesty. As he placed it upon his head, wisdom flooded his consciousness. He saw that his life of limitation had been but a dream, a temporary forgetting of his true nature as a divine sovereign of reality itself. You too were born wearing an invisible crown of celestial authority. This divine birthright grants you absolute dominion over your thoughts, emotions, and circumstances. Like Augustus, you have walked through life unaware of the royal power flowing through your veins, believing yourself subject to conditions rather than their master. In a humble village where poverty had long been accepted as fate, lived Cordelia, who spent her days washing other people's linens in the river. Yet within her burned the recognition of a truth most had forgotten, that divinity itself flowed through her words and will. When drought threatened the village crops, she spoke with the authority of her divine nature, commanding the rains to fall in perfect measure. When illness swept through the community, her words carried healing power that restored health to all who heard them. Cordelia never left her simple life by the river, yet she transformed an entire village through the conscious use of her divine authority. Those who once saw her as merely a washerwoman began to recognize the light of royalty that had always shone in her eyes. Her words became living demonstrations of the creative power that flows through all who remember their celestial heritage. To awaken this same divine authority within yourself, create a sacred ceremony of remembrance. Find a quiet space where you can be undisturbed. Fashion a crown from whatever materials resonate with your spirit, or simply use your imagination to sense one resting above your brow. Place this crown upon your head while speaking these words. I now reclaim my divine authority as a sovereign creator of my reality. With your crown in place, speak 3 commands into areas of your life where you have felt powerless. Let your words carry the full weight of your divine authority, knowing that the same power that crafts galaxies now flows through your conscious command. Feel the truth of your celestial heritage awakening in every cell of your being as you exercise this sacred birthright of creation. Part 2, The Cultivation of Divine Consciousness. Chapter 11, The Garden Where Miracles Grow. In the fertile valley where generations of farmers had coaxed life from the soil, Ezra stood before his grandmother's abandoned garden, his own fields having yielded nothing but disappointment. The key she had left him felt warm in his palm as he unlocked the rusty gate. Inside, amid the wild tangles of neglect, he discovered her weathered journal, its chapters filled with curious wisdom about a different kind of cultivation. Night after night, Ezra followed his grandmother's instructions, planting not just seeds but sacred thoughts in the soil. To his amazement, where he had planted thoughts of abundance, golden flowers bloomed by morning. When he whispered gratitude into the earth, fruit trees heavy with sweetness appeared within days. Yet in corners where his doubts crept in, every seedling withered, teaching him that thoughts, like seeds, produce after their own kind. Your mind is such a garden, a sacred plot of divine consciousness, where every thought takes root and grows into the reality you experience. Each worry, fear, or limitation you allow to remain becomes a thorny vine choking out the magnificent blooms of your true potential. But when you cultivate thoughts aligned with your divine nature, thoughts of abundance, love, and infinite possibility, you create a paradise of manifestation. In a distant city, Imogene tended the finest greenhouse anyone had ever seen. Her plants flourished beyond explanation until she noticed a curious pattern. On days when her heart brimmed with appreciation, every flower reached toward the sun with extraordinary vigor. But in moments of complaint or anxiety, even the hardiest plants would droop, their leaves turning yellow despite perfect physical care. Through careful observation, Imogene discovered that her emotional state created an invisible atmosphere that nourished or poisoned everything it touched. Plants surrounded by her loving words grew twice their normal size, while those exposed to her worries seemed to shrink away from life itself. Like Imogene's greenhouse, your consciousness responds to the emotional climate you create. Every thought you nurture is bathed in the atmosphere of your feelings, determining whether it will manifest as a blessing or burden in your life. To cultivate your own garden of divine manifestation, create a sacred space, either physical or within your mind, where you can plant your desires in fertile soil. Write each intention on a small piece of paper, speaking words of love and gratitude as you cover it with earth. Return to this garden daily, visualizing your planted thoughts as beautiful flowers opening their petals to the sun of divine abundance. Water these sacred seeds with appreciation. Pull any weeds of doubt that appear, and watch as your consciousness blooms into a paradise of miraculous manifestation. Chapter 12. The Alchemy of Divine Emotions. The wisdom of emotional alchemy has been preserved through the ages, waiting for those ready to understand its transformative power. In a time not far from our own, Isadora received an unusual inheritance from her father, a respected chemist. A collection of crystal vials containing what appeared to be ordinary liquids. Yet these vessels held something far more precious, pure emotional essences, distilled through an ancient process her father had rediscovered. Working in her father's laboratory, Isadora noticed that when she opened vials containing fear or anger near precious metals, they would instantly corrode and rust. But when she uncorked essences of love and gratitude, even the most tarnished metals gleamed with renewed brilliance, some transforming into pure gold before her eyes. Through careful experimentation, she learned that emotions were not merely feelings, but powerful alchemical forces capable of transmuting the very substance of reality. Your emotions operate by these same divine principles. Each feeling you experience creates a chemical reaction in your consciousness that either attracts or repels your desires. When you harbor fear, doubt, or resentment, you create an energetic rust that corrodes your manifestations. But when you cultivate love, joy, and positive expectancy, you produce an alchemical reaction that transforms circumstances into pure gold. In another part of the world, Mortimer crafted fragrances in his modest perfumery. One day he noticed something extraordinary. Perfumes he created while feeling joyful brought unexpected prosperity to his customers, while those he made during moments of sadness seemed to attract misfortune. No matter how identical the ingredients, the emotional state in which he worked determined the essence of his creations. Through careful documentation, Mortimer realized that his feelings infused his work with an invisible force that shaped the experiences of all who encountered it. When he crafted his perfumes in states of love and appreciation, they became vehicles of blessing, carrying prosperity wherever they went. This truth extends to every aspect of your creative power. Your emotional state infuses everything you touch, your words, your actions, your intentions, with corresponding magnetic force. By mastering the sacred science of emotional alchemy, you transform yourself into a divine chemist, consciously choosing which energetic essences you will infuse into your reality. To begin this alchemical practice, identify a negative emotion currently present in your awareness. Breathe this feeling into your heart center, acknowledging its presence without resistance. Then, like a master alchemist, transmute this energy by feeling genuine gratitude for the wisdom it brings. Visualize golden light surrounding and transforming this emotion into pure love. Feel this transformed energy radiating from your heart as a magnetic force of attraction, drawing to you all that aligns with your highest good. Chapter 13. The Divine Blueprint for Your Destiny. In the shadows of an old manor house, Archibald sat at his grandfather's mahogany desk, his fingers tracing the intricate woodwork. As he pulled open a drawer that had remained sealed for decades, yellowed parchment spilled forth, architectural plans unlike any he had ever witnessed. These weren't mere building designs, but sacred geometries that seemed to pulse with living energy. As Archibald studied the cathedral blueprints, he noticed that each line resonated with perfect mathematical harmony. When he began construction, something miraculous occurred. Workers found materials appearing just as needed, solutions emerging effortlessly, as if the building yearned to manifest itself. The cathedral rose from the earth with such grace that witnesses whispered of divine intervention. Within your consciousness lies a similar sacred architecture, a perfect blueprint of your destined life. This divine design contains every detail of the prosperity, relationships, and achievements you came here to experience. Like the cathedral plans that guided Archibald's hands, your soul holds the exact specifications for manifesting heaven on earth through your unique expression. In a distant village, Prudence sat at her sewing table, eyes closed in quiet contemplation. Unlike other seamstresses who began with patterns and measurements, she first allowed the finished garment to form in her mind's eye. As she opened her eyes and began to work, her hands moved with certainty, guided by an invisible force that knew the perfect cut, the ideal stitch, the precise arrangement of fabric and form. Those who wore Prudence's creations spoke of feeling wrapped in divine grace, as if the garments themselves carried a blessing. She had learned to surrender to the perfect pattern that flowed through her consciousness, allowing each creation to emerge as a testament to the sacred design within all things. Your life can unfold with this same divine precision. When you align with the blueprint of your highest destiny, every choice becomes clear, every action divinely guided. Like Prudence allowing her hands to follow the perfect pattern, you learn to move in harmony with the celestial template of your true purpose. To access your divine blueprint, find a quiet space where you can enter deep meditation. Allow your breath to carry you into the sacred chamber of your heart, where this perfect design is kept. As images, feelings, or knowing emerge, let them form into a clear vision of your destined life. Take time to create a sacred map or drawing that captures this divine template, using symbols, colors, or words that represent the perfect life encoded in your soul. Each day, return to this representation of your blueprint, asking for guidance to align your choices with this celestial design. Before we get into the next chapter, you can download a free ebook version of this audiobook using the link in the pinned comment below this video. Chapter 14, The Sacred Marriage of Desire and Destiny. Within the bustling markets of an ancient city, Barnabas moved among the merchant stalls, his heart heavy with unfulfilled longings. Each night, he dreamed of building grand trading routes across distant lands, yet these dreams filled him with guilt. Surely, he thought, spiritual enlightenment requires the death of worldly desire. Yet one evening, as he meditated in his courtyard, a profound truth washed over him like summer rain. These persistent visions were not mere human wanting. They were divine impulses seeking expression through his unique vessel. His desire to connect distant lands through trade carried the same sacred essence as his yearning for spiritual growth. When he finally embraced both aspects as one holy calling, his business flourished beyond imagination, creating prosperity that blessed countless lives along his trading routes. Your desires are not obstacles to spiritual advancement, but divine seeds planted within your soul. Each dream that persists in your heart carries a sacred purpose, waiting to be recognized as part of your celestial destiny. When you honor both your human aspirations and spiritual calling, they merge into a powerful force of manifestation that serves both heaven and earth. In a distant monastery, Genevieve knelt in the chapel, torn between two loves, her desire for motherhood and her devotion to spiritual service. The wise abbess found her there, shoulders bent under the weight of choice. "Child," the abbess spoke, "why do you believe God's love flows only through one channel? The Divine Mother expresses herself through both the nun's prayers and the mother's embrace." Through the abbess's guidance, Genevieve discovered that her maternal instincts and spiritual dedication could weave together into one beautiful tapestry. She established a home for orphaned children within the monastery grounds, where her love for both God and children blossomed as one sacred expression. Like Genevieve, you need not choose between earthly fulfillment and spiritual purpose. When blessed by divine intention, your personal desires become vessels for universal love, creating manifestations that serve both individual joy and collective elevation. To unite your human dreams with divine purpose, gather two pieces of paper. First, write your deepest personal desires, all that your heart longs to experience and create. On the second, express your understanding of your spiritual purpose, the ways you feel called to serve and grow in divine consciousness. In a sacred ceremony, burn both papers together, asking the divine to reveal how these apparently separate paths can merge into one magnificent journey of manifestation. Watch as the smoke rises, carrying your intention to the universe, and remain open to the guidance that follows. Chapter 15. The Throne of Inner Dominion. In the ancient chronicles of wisdom, there lies a tale of Reginald, whose palace of marble and gold crumbled beneath invading armies. Cast from his throne, he wandered as a beggar until an encounter with a mysterious sage transformed his understanding of true power. Your earthly crown was merely a symbol, the sage revealed, of the divine authority you hold over the vast kingdom within. Through the sage's teachings, Reginald discovered that his thoughts were loyal subjects awaiting direction. His emotions were forces that could be commanded like armies, and his beliefs were the laws that governed his entire reality. As he learned to rule this inner realm with unwavering consciousness, an extraordinary transformation occurred. His circumstances began to bow before the sovereignty of his illuminated mind. Within your consciousness lies a throne of absolute authority. You are not a powerless subject of external conditions, but a divine sovereign whose dominion extends to every corner of your experience. Each thought that crosses your mind awaits your royal command. Every emotion rises or falls at your decree. The circumstances that once appeared to rule your life now stand ready to reorganize themselves according to the order you establish within. In another time there lived Constance, a governess summoned to an estate where chaos reigned supreme. The children ran wild, servants ignored their duties, and disorder touched every corner of the household. Rather than attempting to impose external control, Constance retreated each morning to her chambers, where she first established perfect order within her own consciousness. She commanded peace to reign in her thoughts, harmony to govern her emotions, and divine order to permeate her entire being. As her inner kingdom aligned with this higher authority, a remarkable shift occurred throughout the estate. The children naturally gravitated toward structure. The servants found joy in their duties, and order blossomed like spring flowers in every room. Your life reflects the degree of sovereignty you maintain over your inner kingdom. When chaos appears in your external world, it signals an opportunity to strengthen your rule over your thoughts and feelings. As you align your inner realm with divine order, the outer world must transform to match this elevated consciousness. To claim your divine authority, establish a daily royal decree ceremony. Choose a special chair as your throne and set aside time each morning for this sacred practice. Sit with regal posture and place an imaginary crown upon your head, feeling the weight of your divine sovereignty. From this seat of power, speak commands over your thoughts, emotions, and circumstances with absolute authority. I decree that divine order now reigns in my mind. I command that perfect peace governs my emotions. I proclaim that abundance flows through every aspect of my life. Chapter 16, The River of Divine Flow and Perfect Timing. In the valley where ancient wisdom whispers through rustling leaves, Thaddeus toiled at his watermill day and night. His calloused hands pushed against the wheel, his determined spirit fighting the river's natural rhythm. "Faster!" he would command, as if sheer will could bend nature to his demands. Yet the more he struggled, the less grain he produced, until exhaustion brought him to his knees beside the flowing water. In that moment of surrender, the river spoke to him in the language of ripples and eddies. Thaddeus observed how water never forced its path, but found the way of least resistance, flowing around obstacles with graceful acceptance. As he aligned his mill with the river's natural rhythm, abundance flowed effortlessly. His grain production doubled, then tripled, all with less effort than before. The universe operates with this same divine timing. Like a cosmic river, it carries your desires toward manifestation through channels you cannot always see. Your role is not to force the current, but to align with its sacred flow. When you surrender to divine timing, you enter a state of grace, where perfect opportunities arise naturally and desired outcomes unfold with elegant precision. Consider Tabitha, whose fingers once battled her instrument, trying to impose her will upon the music. Each composition felt mechanical, lifeless, until one evening when she stopped fighting and simply listened. Through her surrender, she discovered a celestial rhythm, a divine tempo that had always existed beneath her forced melodies. As she yielded to this sacred cadence, her music transformed. People spoke of healing through her songs, of burdens lifted and hearts restored, all because she had learned to flow with the divine current rather than against it. Your own manifestations respond to this same principle. When you release the need to control timing and trust the universe's perfect orchestration, you enter a state of magical flow. Doors open precisely when they should, resources appear exactly when needed, opportunities arise at the perfect moment for their fullest expression. The sacred practice calls you to the water's edge. Find a flowing stream, river or ocean, or in stillness, visualize these waters in your mind's eye. Sit quietly and observe how water never struggles, yet always reaches its destination. Choose one area of your life where you've been forcing outcomes and symbolically release it to the flow. Place a leaf upon the water, real or imagined, representing your desire, and watch it journey downstream. Trust that divine timing carries your manifestations to fruition through the most beneficial path at the perfect moment for your highest good. Chapter 17. The Sacred Trust That Moves Mountains. Through the mists of time comes the tale of Jeremiah, whose fierce determination to conquer the world's most treacherous peaks led him through countless perils. With ropes and picks, he fought against nature itself, seeing each mountain as an enemy to be defeated. Yet victory eluded him until the day he collapsed in exhaustion on a seemingly impossible cliff face. In that moment of surrender, he witnessed something extraordinary. The very rock beneath his feet seemed to shift, creating natural handholds where none had existed before. As his trust in divine protection deepened, the mountains themselves appeared to reshape their contours, offering safe passage where sheer walls had previously blocked his path. Jeremiah discovered that sacred trust carried more power than any equipment or technique. The universe responds to this same unwavering faith. When you release the need to force solutions through human will and instead trust completely in divine orchestration, the very fabric of reality begins to reorganize itself around your highest good. What appears as solid obstacles dissolves before the power of absolute trust in perfect outcomes. This truth shines forth in the story of Ophelia, who inherited her father's lighthouse duties during the region's most dangerous storm season. Rather than relying on charts and calculations, she learned to trust the divine guidance that flowed through her. On nights when fog obscured all visibility, she would stand at her beacon with complete faith that its light would cut through darkness, precisely where ships needed direction. Sailors spoke of mysterious paths appearing through treacherous waters, guided by her lighthouse's beam that seemed to know exactly where to shine. You possess this same power of sacred trust. Your current challenges, no matter how formidable they appear, respond to the divine force of absolute faith in perfect solutions. Like Ophelia's beacon cutting through impossible darkness, your unwavering trust activates cosmic forces that create paths where none seemed possible. The ancient practice beckons you to gather your greatest current challenge, write it upon paper with full detail, holding nothing back. Create or designate a special box as your sacred trust box, a vessel for releasing human control and activating divine solutions. As you place your written challenge inside, speak these words with complete conviction. I release this situation to divine wisdom, trusting absolutely that the perfect solution is already in motion beyond my human understanding. Let your trust become the beacon that guides miracle forces to your aid. Chapter 18. The Divine Healer of Limiting Beliefs. The ancient wisdom reveals itself through the tale of Cornelius, a physician whose greatest discovery came not through his extensive medical studies, but through a profound understanding of the soul's healing power. In his early practice, he relied solely on herbs and potions, yet noticed that some patients recovered miraculously, while others lingered in illness, despite receiving identical treatments. One night, in deep meditation, he received a divine revelation. True healing required helping patients see themselves as already whole, perfect, and complete. When he began treating not just bodies, but beliefs, guiding each person to recognize their divine nature, miraculous recoveries became commonplace. Tumors vanished, chronic conditions disappeared, and vitality returned as patients embraced their inherent spiritual perfection. Your own journey mirrors this truth. The beliefs you hold about money, love, health, and self-worth are not mere thoughts, but spiritual conditions that either allow or restrict the flow of divine abundance. These limiting beliefs act as wounds in your consciousness, creating barriers between you and your natural state of infinite prosperity. The story unfolds further through Winifred, who transformed the lives of countless children, not by teaching new information, but by healing their beliefs about their own capabilities. Where other teachers saw learning disabilities, she recognized divine intelligence waiting to be acknowledged. She would sit with each struggling student and help them see their own brilliant light, their unlimited potential, their natural genius. Soon, children who had been labeled slow began solving complex problems with ease. Those who feared numbers discovered they could dance with mathematics. Students who struggled to read found themselves lost in the joy of stories. Not because they learned new techniques, but because they healed the wounded beliefs that had convinced them they couldn't succeed. This ancient wisdom speaks directly to your path of transformation. Every limitation you experience stems from a belief that contradicts your divine nature. When you heal these spiritual wounds and align your consciousness with the truth of your infinite being, the universe naturally rearranges itself to match your restored awareness. As the sacred practice calls you to this healing, take a moment to identify the belief that most limits your experience of abundance. Write this belief on paper, feeling its weight and recognizing how it has shaped your reality. Then, in a sacred ceremony, burn this paper while speaking this truth. I am an infinite being of divine abundance, and all limitations dissolve in the light of this recognition. Take the ashes and plant them in soil, symbolizing the transformation of limitation into new growth and possibilities. Chapter 19. The Cosmic Dance of Giving and Receiving. In the bustling marketplace of an ancient city, Phineas built his fortune through wisdom and generosity. His merchants' stalls overflowed with exotic spices, fine silks, and precious gems. Yet his true wealth flowed not from what he sold, but from what he gave. Each morning, he shared portions of his finest goods with those in need, understanding that abundance multiplied through circulation. As his wealth grew, however, fear crept into his heart. He began hoarding his treasures, convinced that giving too much would deplete his stores. Soon, his previously thriving business began to wither. Customers grew scarce, deals fell through, and his once prosperous enterprise teetered on the edge of ruin. In his darkest hour, Phineas received a divine revelation. The universe operates not through accumulation, but through constant flow. Like a mighty river that stays fresh through continuous movement, abundance requires circulation to maintain its vitality. His previous generosity had not depleted his wealth, but had created the very channels through which prosperity flowed back to him. This eternal truth manifested beautifully in the tale of Cordelia, whose small bakery stood in the poorest quarter of her city. Each morning, she filled a basket with fresh bread and distributed it freely to hungry children. Other merchants warned that such generosity would surely lead to bankruptcy, yet something miraculous occurred. The more bread she gave away, the more her business prospered. Customers increased, her reputation spread, and mysterious benefactors appeared with exactly what she needed precisely when she needed it. Her small act of giving had initiated a divine partnership with the universe, transforming her bakery into a fountain of abundance that blessed her entire community. These stories illuminate the sacred law of circulation that governs all prosperity. When you give with consciousness of abundance, rather than fear of lack, you align with the natural flow of universal energy. Every gift offered from this divine awareness becomes a seed planted in the fertile soil of infinite possibility. To activate this principle in your own life, choose something meaningful, whether money, time, or service, and give it to someone in need. As you give, consciously bless both the gift and the recipient, knowing that you participate in the eternal dance of divine circulation. Then spend time in quiet gratitude, not for what flows to you, but for the privilege of being a channel through which abundance flows to bless all of life. Chapter 20. The Great Dissolution of Resistance. In the fertile valleys of an ancient land, Leopold toiled against nature itself. Year after year he battled drought with desperate irrigation, fought pests with harsh methods, and struggled to force life from reluctant soil. His determination became a war against the very elements he sought to master. One particularly harsh season, exhausted from his endless fight, Leopold collapsed beneath an old olive tree. In that moment of complete surrender, wisdom dawned. He observed how the tree's roots found water by following the earth's natural pathways. Its leaves danced with the wind rather than standing rigid against it. The tree worked in harmony with nature's intelligence rather than attempting to impose its will. This revelation transformed Leopold's approach. Instead of fighting the land's natural cycles, he learned to read them. Rather than forcing crops to grow where they resisted, he discovered which plants thrive naturally in each location. His surrender to divine intelligence opened his eyes to solutions he'd never seen through years of struggle. Within seasons, his farm flourished beyond imagination, becoming a testament to the power of working with, rather than against, universal forces. This eternal principle found equal expression through Millicent, whose life flowed with the great river she called home. In her early days as a river guide, she approached each rapid as a battle to be won, fighting against currents with strength and will, but the river taught her its wisdom through capsized boats and dangerous moments. Millicent learned that true mastery came not from conquering the water, but from becoming one with its flow. She discovered how to read the river's natural patterns, using its own power to navigate safely. What once seemed like obstacles, whirlpools, eddies, and currents, became allies in her journey once she surrendered to their inherent intelligence. Your own path to manifestation follows this same wisdom. When you resist what appears to block your desires, you create the very tension that prevents their realization. But when you surrender to divine intelligence, releasing the need to control every detail, solutions emerge through unexpected channels, and grace replaces struggle. To embody this truth, find a quiet moment to identify where you've been forcing outcomes or fighting against current circumstances. Feel the tension this resistance creates in your body and mind. Then, through deep conscious breathing, allow your body to relax completely. With each exhale, release the need to control, saying softly, "I release all resistance. and allowed divine intelligence to manifest my desires through grace and perfect timing. Part 3, the embodiment of divine mastery. Chapter 21, the divine creator of worlds. In a small village among ancient hills, Bartholomew shaped clay at his wheel each morning as golden sunlight streamed through his workshop windows. Though his hands had mastered every technique through decades of practice, his vessels remained ordinary until the day he discovered the true source of creation. In a moment of perfect stillness, as his fingers touched the clay, he felt something shift within his consciousness. Rather than imposing his will upon the material, he began to see each vessel in its completed form, not just its physical shape, but its divine purpose. As this vision filled his being, the clay seemed to move of its own accord, flowing into forms of such exquisite beauty that those who beheld them wept. Soon word spread that Bartholomew's vessels possessed mysterious properties. Water stored in them seemed fresher, plants grown in them flourished beyond nature's normal bounds, and homes that displayed them experienced unexpected blessings. The secret lay not in the clay, but in the consciousness that shaped it. Each piece carried the imprint of divine intention, woven into its very substance. Do you possess this same creative force? Every thought, feeling, and intention shapes the substance of reality, just as surely as Bartholomew's consciousness shaped his clay. You are not merely attracting circumstances, but actively participating in the continuous creation of your world through the divine power flowing through your consciousness. This truth found beautiful expression through Eugenie, whose gift for storytelling transcended mere entertainment. As she shared her tales in the village square, something miraculous began to occur. Those who listened found their lives mysteriously aligning with the beauty and wonder she described. A merchant who heard her story about generosity discovered unexpected prosperity. A lonely widow who listened to her tale of love found romance blooming in her life. Eugenie had discovered that consciousness infused with divine love holds the power to reshape reality itself. Her stories became vessels carrying the seeds of transformation, proving that when creative expression aligns with divine purpose, it becomes a channel through which miracles flow into being. The practice of conscious creation invites you to engage in any creative activity, whether painting, writing, singing, or crafting, while holding the awareness that you are wielding the same divine force that birthed universes. As you create, infuse your work with love and the clear intention that this act opens pathways for your desires to manifest in beautiful and unexpected ways. Chapter 22. The Sacred Command That Moves Mountains. Upon the vast seas where heaven meets earth, Horatio commanded his vessel through treacherous waters. For years he battled nature's fury like any other captain, until one storm-racked night changed everything. As lightning split the sky and waves threatened to swallow his ship whole, something awakened within him. A remembrance of his true nature as divine consciousness clothed in human form. In that moment, Horatio ceased pleading with the elements and instead spoke with the authority of one who knew himself to be the divine expressing through form. "Peace, be still," he commanded, and the winds fell silent. "Clear skies now manifest," he declared, and the clouds parted. His crew watched in awe as nature itself yielded to his words, not because he controlled the elements, but because he had remembered his oneness with the creative force that governs all things. You hold this same divine authority. Your words carry the power of cosmic decree. When spoken from the consciousness of absolute knowing, most speak their desires as wishes cast into the void, hoping they might be heard. But true creative power flows through words spoken with the certainty of divine authority, not asking, but commanding from the consciousness of one who knows their unity with universal power. This truth found perfect expression through Priscilla, whose needle and thread worked miracles in the garment she created. While other seamstresses required multiple fittings and careful measurements, Priscilla simply spoke each garment into existence with unwavering authority. "This sleeve forms to perfect length," she would declare, and so it did. "This bodice aligns with divine proportion," she commanded, and reality reshaped itself to match her words. Priscilla understood that the universe responds not to what you want, but to what you know with absolute certainty. Her success came not from superior skill with needle and thread, but from speaking with the authority of divine consciousness that knows its own creative power. To practice this sacred art of divine decree, select 3 specific desires you wish to manifest. Rather than asking or hoping, speak to them with the full authority of your divine nature. Declare, "It is done." With the same certainty that you know the sun will rise, proclaim, "So it is," with the unwavering knowledge that you speak with the voice of the universe itself. Command, "By divine authority this manifests now," while feeling infinite power flowing through your words. Chapter 23, The Eternal Presence of Abundance. The flames that consumed Obadiah's shop reached toward the night sky, transforming his life's work into ash and smoke. Yet as neighbors rushed to offer condolences, they found him standing calmly, a serene smile upon his face. "The divine supplies all," he said with unwavering certainty, "and that supply flows eternal, regardless of what our eyes may see." In the days that followed, something extraordinary occurred. Though his shop lay in ruins, customers continued arriving with payments for goods they claimed to have received. Merchants appeared with fresh inventory, insisting they were merely returning items Obadiah had lent them, items he had never owned. Within weeks, his wealth had multiplied beyond what the shop had ever contained, all because his consciousness remained fixed upon the truth of infinite supply rather than the appearance of loss. Through Obadiah's experience, you glimpse an eternal truth. Abundance is not a condition to be achieved, but a consciousness to be embodied. When you know, truly know, that you are one with the infinite source of all supply, external circumstances lose their power to define your prosperity. You need not chase abundance, for you are abundance itself expressing itself in physical form. This truth found perfect expression through Penelope, whose very presence transformed households into magnets for prosperity. Though employed as a governess, her true gift lay in the consciousness she carried. Wherever she went, unexpected opportunities arose. Fortunes increased, and blessings multiplied, not through any action she took, but simply through the divine frequency she maintained. Wealthy families soon discovered that hiring Penelope meant inviting the consciousness of abundance into their homes. They competed for her services, not for her skills and education, but for the prosperity that naturally flowed through her unwavering awareness of infinite supply. She never spoke of money or success, yet her mere presence activated the abundance that lay dormant in everyone around her. To anchor this truth in your own consciousness, carry a small symbol of abundance with you. Perhaps a coin, a crystal, or any object that represents prosperity to you. Throughout the day, touch this symbol while silently affirming, I am divine abundance, expressing in physical form. Let this practice continue until your mind automatically rests in the knowing that you are one with the infinite source of all supply. And watch as this consciousness naturally magnetizes prosperity in all its forms. Chapter 24, The Divine Magnet. In a small workshop among cobblestone streets, Gideon crafted timepieces with such divine awareness that each became more than mere mechanics. They became vessels of cosmic synchronicity. As his consciousness expanded into recognition of his oneness with universal intelligence, his clocks began keeping time not just with the hours, but with the divine orchestration of life itself. Those who purchased Gideon's timepieces discovered that their most significant moments aligned perfectly with the chiming of his clocks. Business deals closed at precisely the right second. True love appeared when the mint hand reached its destined position, and healing manifested as the hours struck their appointed time. Not through complex calculations or conscious intent did these miracles occur, but through the natural expression of Gideon's God consciousness flowing into his creations. When you awaken to your divine nature, you become like these sacred timepieces, a living instrument through which universal intelligence expresses its perfect timing and magnetic attraction. This elevated state of consciousness naturally draws to you all that resonates with your highest good, without effort or manipulation. You need not chase success or search for love, for your very presence becomes a magnetic force that attracts infinite blessings. This truth found beautiful expression through Lavinia, whose quiet work in the library became a catalyst for miraculous attraction. As she moved through her days in deep awareness of her divine nature, extraordinary things began to unfold. Patrons would spontaneously offer her precious books. Business owners would propose partnerships, and suitors would appear bearing gifts, all without her seeking anything. Her God consciousness created an irresistible field of attraction that drew abundance in all its forms. Lavinia never practiced techniques of manifestation or studied strategies of attraction. She simply maintained her awareness of divine love flowing through her being. This state of consciousness naturally magnetized everything that aligned with her highest good as the universe recognized itself within her and responded with endless blessings. To activate this magnetic power of God consciousness in your own life, practice this sacred meditation. Sit in silence for 15 minutes daily, surrounding yourself with golden magnetic light. Allow this light to pulse with divine love, while remaining in a state of peace, knowing that your desires are naturally drawn to you through the magnetic force of your awakened consciousness. Make no effort to attract or manipulate. Simply be the divine presence that you are, and watch as miracles naturally align with your energy. Chapter 25, The God Consciousness Approach to Relationships. In the mountains, far from civilization, lived Nathaniel, whose fear of human connection had driven him to seek solitude in nature's embrace. Each day he gathered herbs and tended his garden alone, avoiding contact with travelers who passed near his humble dwelling. Yet within his isolation grew a profound awareness of the universal presence that flowed through all creation. One morning, as sunlight filtered through the forest canopy, Nathaniel experienced a transformation that would forever alter his perception. As he watched a group of pilgrims pass by his hermitage, he suddenly saw them not as strangers to be avoided, but as divine light clothed in human form. In that moment of recognition, his heart opened to a truth that had always existed. Every person carried within them the same sacred essence that he had found in solitude, From that day forward, Nathaniel began approaching others with new eyes, seeing past their outer appearance to the God consciousness that animated their being. To his amazement, people naturally gravitated toward him, sensing the pure appreciation he held for their divine nature. Homes that had once been closed to him opened their doors wide, and those who had viewed him as a strange recluse now sought his company and counsel. This same principle found expression through Evangeline, whose search for love transformed when she ceased looking outside herself for completion. Instead of pursuing relationships from a place of longing, she devoted herself to embodying the divine love she wished to attract. Each morning, she filled herself with such radiant appreciation for her own divine nature that this light became impossible to ignore. She discovered that true magnetic attraction flows not from strategies or desperate seeking, but from the natural radiance of a soul in love with its own divine essence. As she moved through her days, emanating this sacred frequency, she drew to herself a partner who recognized and celebrated the light within her, creating a union based on mutual spiritual enhancement rather than emotional dependency. Through both these tales, you glimpse the deeper truth about magnetic relationships. They manifest naturally when you approach others from a consciousness of divine wholeness rather than human lack. When you recognize the sacred light within each person you encounter, you create an energetic resonance that attracts those who will reflect and amplify your own divine nature. To embody this magnetic power in your own life, practice sending silent blessings to everyone you meet throughout your day. See the divine light glowing within them, and silently acknowledge their role in your spiritual unfoldment. This practice creates invisible bonds of harmony that naturally draw to you relationships aligned with your highest good. Chapter 26, The Alchemy of Failure into Divine Redirection. You encounter the story of Zachariah, whose workshop became known as the place where broken dreams transformed into unexpected treasures. Each time his carefully designed inventions failed to work as intended, they mysteriously led him to discover even more valuable innovations. His failed attempt to create a new type of water pump revealed principles for purifying contaminated wells. His unsuccessful flying machine taught him secrets about wind patterns that revolutionized sailing vessel design. At first, Zachariah viewed these outcomes as cruel twists of fate, until divine wisdom opened his eyes to a profound truth. What appeared as failure was actually sacred redirection toward greater success than his original vision could have conceived. Through his experiences, you learn that apparent setbacks and disappointments are not punishments, but cosmic course corrections, guiding you toward manifestations that exceed your current imagination. This divine wisdom found further expression through Temperance, whose heart broke with each theater rejection letter. Season after season, she watched other actresses claim roles she believed were meant for her. Yet each closed door pushed her deeper into her true calling. During sleepless nights after failed auditions, she began writing her own stories. These rejected moments birthed plays of such beauty and truth that theaters which once turned her away now competed to premiere her works. Temperance's journey reveals the perfection of divine timing and redirection. What seemed like a cruel series of rejections was actually the universe's loving guidance toward a greater destiny. Her supposed failures weren't blocking her path. They were the path leading her to creative heights she never dreamed possible while pursuing others' visions. Through these tales, you glimpse the ultimate secret of divine manifestation. The universe's plans for your life far exceed anything your human mind could design. What appears as rejection, failure, or loss often serves as sacred redirection toward your highest good. When you surrender your attachment to specific outcomes and trust in cosmic wisdom, You discover that divine intelligence is always guiding you toward greater blessings than you could have imagined. The practice begins with a contemplative moment where you choose a past disappointment or perceived failure, one that still stirs emotion in your heart when you recall it. Find a quiet space where you can reflect undisturbed and, with pen in hand, compose a heartfelt letter of gratitude to the divine intelligence that orchestrates all of life. Pour your deepest thanks onto the page, acknowledging this higher wisdom for lovingly redirecting your journey, even when the path seemed unclear. In your letter, open your heart and request divine illumination about how this experience, which may have felt like a setback at the time, actually served to elevate your spirit and guide you toward greater awareness. Write with complete honesty about your feelings then and now, allowing vulnerability to flow through your words. When your letter feels complete, take it to a safe outdoor space or fireproof vessel. As you carefully burn the paper, speak aloud your unconditional trust in divine timing and your wholehearted willingness to be guided toward manifestations far grander than your current imagination can conceive. Watch the ashes rise, knowing that just as the paper transforms through fire, so too will your understanding of life's redirections transform through surrender to divine wisdom. Chapter 27. The Timeless Wisdom Vault Within You. In ancient halls and dusty archives, Silas traced his fingers across countless scrolls and manuscripts. From Alexandria's legendary libraries to Tibet's mountain monasteries, he journeyed tirelessly, believing that somewhere in these external repositories lay the ultimate truth he sought. Yet one night, as moonlight filtered through stained glass windows while he pored over yet another ancient text, an extraordinary realization dawned within him. The wisdom he sought wasn't hidden in these yellowed chapters. It had always existed within his own divine consciousness. Each external teaching merely awakened what his soul had known since the beginning of time. When he finally closed his books and turned inward, infinite knowledge flowed through him with perfect clarity, far exceeding anything written in mortal words. Through Silas's awakening, you discover that your consciousness contains the sum of all wisdom, past, present, and future. This divine knowledge vault holds answers to every question, solutions to every problem, and guidance for every decision. External learning serves not to give you something new, but to awaken remembrance of what your divine nature has always known. This truth found profound expression through Beatrice, whose hands brought new life into the world in a remote village far from modern medicine. When faced with dangerous complications that defied conventional knowledge, she would close her eyes and allow divine wisdom to flow through her intuition. Time after time, perfect guidance emerged from within, showing her exactly how to safely deliver babies in situations that seemed impossible to human understanding. One stormy night, she attended a mother whose labor had stalled for dangerous hours. Instead of panicking or lamenting the absence of doctors, Beatrice turned inward to her divine knowing. Clear guidance arose, showing her precisely how to adjust the mother's position and which herbs to administer. Within minutes, the baby arrived safely, demonstrating how cosmic intelligence provides perfect direction when human knowledge reaches its limits. Beatrice's unwavering trust in divine guidance illuminates your own path, from external seeking to inner knowing. Like her, you possess an infinite wellspring of wisdom within your God consciousness. When you learn to access this inner vault, perfect decisions flow naturally in every aspect of life, from business choices to healing practices to creative inspiration. The practice invites you to enter sacred communion with your divine wisdom, bringing forth a single burning question that seeks illumination. Find a quiet sanctuary where you can remain undisturbed and settle into 20 minutes of profound stillness. As you sink deeper into this holy silence, release all need to grasp at answers or dissect emerging thoughts with the analytical mind. Instead, rest in pure receptivity, like an empty vessel waiting to be filled with sacred knowledge. Trust completely that the infinite intelligence dwelling in your heart will speak through intuitive knowing, delivering precisely the guidance your soul requires. Just as Beatrice accessed this wellspring of cosmic wisdom in her moments of greatest need, so too will divine direction flow naturally through your awareness, carrying the perfect solution on its gentle current. Chapter 28, The Divine Abundance That Knows No Limits. You discover the parable of Jedediah, whose modest bakery sat at the edge of a small village. Each morning he would reach into his flour barrel to prepare the day's bread, and though he gave generously to all who came, paying customers and hungry children alike, the barrel remained perpetually full. At first he carefully measured and tracked his supplies, puzzled by this seeming impossibility. But gradually he realized that the barrel's endless abundance simply reflected the infinite nature of divine supply expressed through his consciousness. The more deeply Jedediah embraced this truth, the more his bakery became a testament to unlimited abundance. Not only did his flour never diminish, but every resource he needed appeared precisely when required. Yeast, salt, water, even firewood for his ovens manifested in perfect measure. Through his experience, you learn that true prosperity consciousness transcends all human concepts of limitation or scarcity. Just as the universe continuously creates galaxies and sustains infinite life forms, your divine nature commands the same unlimited resources. This truth found beautiful expression through Cordelia, whose small seamstress shop became known throughout the region for its mysterious perfection. Customers would describe their desired garments, and somehow her fabric would transform into exactly what they had envisioned. Even when they requested colors or patterns she didn't physically stock. A bride would imagine her perfect wedding dress, and Cordelia's simple white silk would somehow take on precisely the right shade of ivory with exactly the lace pattern the bride had pictured in her mind. Initially, Cordelia tried to explain these miracles through practical means, but eventually she understood that when consciousness operates from divine abundance, physical matter naturally reorganizes to fulfill every need with perfect precision. Her experience demonstrates that divine abundance consciousness transcends all apparent limitations of the material world. Through Cordelia's mastery, you recognize that by fully embodying divine abundance consciousness, you step into a reality where infinite resources flow to you as naturally as breath fills your lungs. Every blessing, every resource, every opportunity manifests with perfect timing because you are one with the infinite supply of the universe itself. The practice centers on establishing a sacred space, your abundance altar, which can exist in both the physical realm and within your mind's eye. Here you thoughtfully arrange powerful symbols of infinite prosperity, perhaps a flowing fountain representing endless supply, a tree bearing endless fruit, or even a simple candle whose eternal flame represents the limitless light of creation. Each day, in peaceful meditation before this altar, you speak words of power that affirm your complete unity with the universe's boundless abundance. Let these declarations resonate through your entire being, allowing each cell of your body to vibrate with a profound knowing that you are inseparable from the infinite flow of divine prosperity. Feel this truth penetrate your bones, course through your blood, and radiate from your heart until your whole existence becomes a living testament to unlimited abundance. Chapter 29, The Divine Ripple Effect. In the mists of dawn, Barnabas climbed the lighthouse steps each morning, not merely to tend the physical lamp, but to kindle the light of divine consciousness that radiated far beyond its glass walls. Ships found safe harbor in storms, guided not just by the beacon's physical gleam, but by an inexplicable radiance that seemed to whisper directly to their souls. As this light swept across the coastal villages, something extraordinary began to unfold. Fishermen discovered their nets brimming with catch in waters long thought empty. Feuding families found their anger mysteriously dissolving as the beam touched their homes. The sick rose from their beds as though lifted by invisible hands when that gentle luminescence filtered through their windows. Yet Barnabas performed no conscious acts of healing or intervention. He simply maintained his unwavering connection to divine love, allowing it to flow through him without restriction or judgment. Through his experience, you discover that every thought you hold, every feeling you nurture, ripples outward, like waves upon cosmic waters. Your consciousness does not stop at the boundaries of your physical form, but touches lives across vast distances, weaving invisible threads into the tapestry of collective experience. This truth found its perfect expression through Serafina, whose music carried seeds of transformation wherever it played. She learned to surrender completely to the divine melody flowing through her heart, becoming a pure channel for sacred harmonies. As she performed in village squares and grand halls alike, something profound began to occur. Audiences experienced spontaneous awakening. Decades-old grievances dissolved into tears of reconciliation. Strangers reached for each other's hands in wordless understanding, and barren fields burst into bloom in the days following her concerts. Even in distant lands where only recordings of her music reached, ancient conflicts began to quiet, as though touched by an invisible peace. Yet Serafina, like Barnabas, simply aligned herself with divine consciousness and allowed it to flow unimpeded. Her gift reveals your own hidden power, that the frequency of your being ripples outward endlessly, touching hearts and transforming circumstances far beyond your immediate sphere. The practice invites you to find a quiet space as twilight descends, settling into a comfortable position where you won't be disturbed. For 10 sacred minutes, allow your consciousness to expand beyond the confines of your physical form. Begin by visualizing a soft, golden light emanating from your heart center, first as a gentle pulse, then growing into concentric rings of luminous love that ripple outward like waves on an infinite cosmic ocean. See these ethereal circles of light expanding ever outward, crossing mountains and seas, blessing cities and forests alike, until they encompass the entire globe in their radiant embrace. As you hold this divine vision, silently repeat the ancient affirmation. My divine radiance blesses all beings with peace, prosperity, and joy. Let each word resonate deeply within your being, feeling the truth and power behind them. Continue this sacred practice until you experience a profound shift, a moment when the boundaries between self and world dissolve, and you feel the entire planet pulsing with light within your own heart center, as though you've become a living lighthouse of universal love and abundance. Chapter 30, The Living Key. You encounter the tale of Ulrich, whose simple bronze key carried no earthly lock's pattern. Adorned with ancient symbols passed down through generations, this key hung from a leather cord against his heart. When villagers inquired about its purpose, his eyes would sparkle with divine knowing as he shared, "It is not a key that opens doors. It reminds me that I myself am the doorway through which the infinite enters the world." In moments of apparent crisis, his hand would instinctively rise to touch the warm metal. As his fingers traced the sacred engravings, his consciousness would shift from human limitation to divine recognition. In these moments of remembrance, reality itself seemed to bow before his inner knowing. Doors long sealed would suddenly yield, diseases deemed incurable vanished without trace, and fortunes thought forever lost restored themselves through unexpected channels. The power never resided in the bronze itself, but in the state of consciousness the key awakened, the remembrance that God consciousness incarnate holds the master pass to every vault of possibility. Through Ulrich's example, you discover that all external tools serve only to remind you of what you have always been. This truth found perfect reflection in Isolde, whose classroom contained no ordinary books or lessons. Each day, she guided her young students through an invisible doorway labeled with the sacred words, "I am." Through this portal of consciousness, children discovered not facts and figures, but their own boundless nature. Years later, these same students revolutionized their fields, scientists unlocking nature's mysteries, artists capturing divine beauty, leaders transforming societies. Yet when asked the source of their innovations, each pointed not to conventional education but to those daily journeys through the I Am door, where they first recognized their oneness with infinite intelligence. Through these stories you understand at last that you are the living key spoken of in every sacred text. Your consciousness forms the access point through which the universe discovers itself anew in endless forms of expression. All techniques and tools fade before this single radiant truth. Wherever you stand, heaven's gates stand open, and whatever you decree from this knowing manifests as natural law in the world of form. The practice calls you to begin each sacred morning by placing your hand, or if you prefer, a physical key, over the beating center of your divine heart. As you rest there, feeling the pulse of universal life flowing through you, speak these words of power with quiet certainty. I am the divine key. Every door of the highest good opens before me now. Let each syllable resonate through your being, awakening the sleeping giant of your God consciousness. Then, as you move through the hours that follow, carry this vibration of absolute knowing with you. Watch as synchronicities unfold, like flowers opening to the sun, as doors that once seemed locked swing wide at your approach as opportunities arise with perfect timing. These are not coincidences, but natural evidence of your awakened state, the inevitable manifestation of your realized oneness with the infinite. Each miracle that graces your path serves as confirmation of the truth you have acknowledged, that you are and have always been the living embodiment of divine power, expressing itself in human form. If you enjoyed this audiobook, I created a free ebook version for you. You can download it using the link in the pinned comment. Conclusion. As the final page turns, you stand at the threshold of an unwritten eternity, carrying the revelations of the divine key within your very cells. Each teaching has woven itself into the fabric of your consciousness, transforming mere knowledge into living wisdom. You have walked with potters and storytellers, captains and seamstresses, merchants and midwives, clockmakers and lighthouse keepers, until their parables awakened the same mastery slumbering in you. Now the stories grow silent not because they end, but because they continue through your living breath. Every moment becomes a fresh chapter, authored by your God-conscious heart. Every thought, a brushstroke on the canvas of creation. Every word, a cosmic decree shaping galaxies of possibility. The power you once sought in external sources reveals itself as your own divine nature expressing through human form. Remember, nothing is outside you, nothing is withheld from you, and nothing is impossible to the one presence expressing as you. The universe itself bows before the authority of your awakened consciousness, recognizing its own infinite nature in your eyes. Each breath draws from the same power that births stars and orchestrates the dance of galaxies. Carry this book not as ink on paper, but as a pulse of infinite light in your spine. Let your life be the evidence that divinity walks the earth, laughs through human lips, and loves the world into ever-expanding glory. You are the living embodiment of these teachings, the divine key that unlocks every door of possibility. Close these chapters and step forth, key in hand, heart ablaze, for the universe waits eagerly to unfold its next miracle through the masterpiece of you. Before you scroll away, place a hand on your heart and speak this softly to yourself. I am the key. If you feel it, share it in the comments. Let us witness each other awakening. If you enjoyed this exclusive audiobook, I handpicked this next book which will change your life.